Some are looking for an explanation of consciousness. Much information is available, and general opinion seems to be that we don't know how consciousness comes about. Here is how I look at things. First, some definitions. You can stop the video now and read them carefully. The experience of consciousness comes about in the following way. Nature has in it and makes no distinctions. No objects exist. Nature allows for distinction and evolution. The need for completeness and consistency is limited using distinctions. The human brain has evolved over millions of years. Input, sensory stimuli, brain hardware, the tissues, middleware, the electric and chemical composition and movement, and software, the structures of neural activation patterns or evolving object model. Together, this input, brain hardware, middleware and software, together shape consciousness. The growth of one human brain takes years. We build our object model from conception to birth and growing up. Our neural network is organized to develop analogies. We develop analogies for external inputs and for mental objects. A certain neural activation pattern is analog to the image of a lion on the retina. A certain neural activation pattern is analog to the mental object of a specific number. Mental objects could also be, for instance, reasoning objects and monitoring objects. A reasoning object could be used for causal reasoning. The object model evolves from simple and reflex-oriented to enormously complex. During that growth, sequences of neural activation patterns are programmed and represent sequences or trains of thought and behavior. Trains of objects in an evolving object model, so to speak. There is an analogy between some objects in the model and external objects. There is only so much need for or realization of completeness or consistency in the object representations. Programmed objects and programmed trains of objects can be reproduced, replayed, recalled. Consciousness can be modeled by a monitoring object. It perceives and imagines. Somewhere along the line of growth, a simple monitor object arises, approximately as early as 5 months after birth for humans. The monitoring object evolves during growth and decline. The monitor is part of the software. The monitor is the monitoring part of the managing software. The two-layer managing paradigm supports the object model, and the hardware of the brain is organized to represent the paradigm. The monitor is the experience of the train of thoughts, the experience of the brain's processing of information. Electricity and chemistry can obviously influence consciousness. Monitoring objects are changed momentarily or perhaps even permanently. Removal of parts of the brain can change the object model. The complexity of the hardware and middleware allows for the complexity of the software, the object model. I suspect Giulio Tononi's information complexity, or phi, is a measure for the complexity of the middleware and should as such be larger than the complexity of the entire object model. It is not defined to be a measure for the complexity of the entire object model, or the complexity of the monitor objects that represent consciousness. we could aspire to define information complexity measures for the different object models. Computers are discrete calculators. This means they rely on some external mechanism to realize and connect the different temporal states. This might block the possibility of an observing monitor and states influencing the train of states. In order for computers to become aware, they have to overcome this problem and develop a semantic software layer that is able to innovate itself and develop a monitor object as well. I do not see this happening anytime soon, or perhaps ever. Other of today's modern theories on consciousness are, for example, recurrent processing theory, global workspace theory, higher order theories, attention schema theory, predictive processing, and midbrain theory. I'm not going to discuss them here, but the words may inspire you to look into them. You may also want to take notice of a free paper that is down in the description below on consciousness in AI. Free will is a simpler concept. Today it seems popular to declare that we have no free will because of the physics we use to explain reality. I think this is not correct. We think we have free will. I suspect nature does not make any distinctions. Our interpretations of reality are our perspective, based on the orderings we choose. So any laws we seem to experience and imagine based on those orderings have no consequences for the behavior of reality itself. We can imagine things that do not exist in reality, like gnomes and elves. If we accept that our thoughts are involved in our behavior in reality, we can also assume that we have the free will to go either left or right, or write books like those describing Harry Potter.